Hello, welcome to another YouTube video. Today I'm going to talk about the benefits of being humble during your chronic back pain recovery process. The reason I want to talk about this today is because it's kind of been on my mind actually for almost 3 or 4 weeks even, and I'll start by just sharing a little story about why being humble has been important to me, what sort of, I suppose, triggered a few things recently to give me a bit of perspective on how important being humble can be on the recovery process, and hopefully share a few tips for yourself if you are attempting to recover from chronic back pain or any other chronic muscle problem. Being humble is, I guess, an important thing to keep in your tool belt. So I'll start then by just sharing a little story about how I had the idea, I had the sense of being humble in my system, about 5 or 6 weeks ago. It was actually leading up to my Qigong teacher training exam, and it was of the mindset of I'm gonna attempt to pass my exam. I need to be realistic leading into the exam and not fall into the fallacy of the mind, let's say, and just expect that because I've been working hard and fulfilling all the fitness elements of the exam, because it's a Shaolin Qigong fitness course with Shifu Yan Li. So there is a high element of fitness involved. There's also a lot of Kung Fu stuff. So to give a taste of like 150 press-ups, 150 squats of different types, 150 to 200 punches, 150 kicks, a 3-minute plank, and followed by Qigong form and all that goes with that. So it was quite an intensive fitness regime, and I suppose leading up to the exam, I felt good. I could complete all of the what was required of me, so I decided to book the exam, and after the exam, that was, I suppose, where the humbling practice really came into the fore, because I didn't pass the exam. It's disappointing not to have passed the exam, yet I understand why I didn't pass the exam, and I understand the elements in which I was able to humble myself in order to really, in some way, brush aside the disappointment and just have respect for the practice that I was attempting to do, which was to become a Qigong fitness instructor. Now, there's a few things that being humble helped me with in that situation. So, number one, receiving feedback. My master is extremely honest. He is extremely tuned into the practice and what he's teaching, and he's extremely embodied, and he can sense and feel your embodiment of the practice at the same time. So some of the feedback I was receiving essentially was, he wasn't getting that depth from my body, wasn't sensing the depth of practice. So I was performing the moves and able to complete the fitness exam, but there was a lack of depth within the embodiment of the practice. So if you're familiar with martial arts at all, form and technique and embodiment, body-mind connection, mind-body connection. That's what I talk about a lot, is absolutely imperative. And in regards to being humble about that, I had to sit back and receive feedback about the sort of exercises and movements that I was doing from a space of openness. Of course, inside I was a bit disappointed because you've sort of failed the exam and I wanted to pass and teach others, etc., etc. But at the same time, my master has a level of expectation and understanding too about the practice and what he considers to be a student of his ready to move into that space. So being humble when receiving feedback is extremely important, especially if it's to do with, body work, or maybe you do a yoga practice and you're trying to move into a stretch, or there's a bit of tension there, and what that allowed me to do from that feedback is come back into my body even closer, and I understood, I knew what he was saying to me. I was able to understand the parts of my body that are still holding tension around my hips, especially for me anyway, my lower back, around my hips, the tension there, and it just gave me an opportunity to get even closer to my body. So yeah, first benefit of being humble is receiving feedback and being able to move forward from that feedback from a space of understanding and a space of respect for yourself. It's really important in back pain recovery process. And I guess secondly it moves on to being humble in relation to how can I put it? I guess what we think, what our mind, where our mind thinks we are, but where we might not be within our body. For instance, in mind-body work, it's quite common to, I suppose, you could call them affirmations, they call it like brain reprogramming sort of methods. So, instead of having the mindset of, oh, my back's screwed, I'll never play football again, or I'll never run again, or cycle or swim, or whatever your sport is, if you've got chronic back pain or you've had chronic back pain, no doubt you've stopped doing a sport that you really like. So some of the methodology is, with a lot of chronic back pain, because a lot of the symptoms are perpetuated by emotional states, the way we think, and what they call neuroplastic brain processes, i.e. your brain learns to interpret certain movements as dangerous, and it creates pain in your body. Like if you're sitting down and you stand up and you sort of tweak your back, these things are sort of commonly related to sort of brain processes as much as the physical aspect of it. So being humble about your thoughts. So what do you think about your back? And if you're constantly, if you're familiar with this sort of work and you're trying to say to yourself, okay, my back isn't as bad as as it feels, or the pain is just due to some repressed emotions, so you start journaling and you start moving away from the pain, I suppose. Being humble with yourself can sometimes just make you go, do you know what? My back is fucking killing me. And I just needed to recognize and say that. Because having chronic back pain, it's bad enough having the pain, And what's equally bad is recognizing how painful it is. So we have to do that from time to time. So humble yourself during your recovery process. If your back's really hurting, just say wow, my back is killing me. And then just take a few breaths and see how you feel, because you might actually feel a relief that you've just recognized the groundedness in your body and the humble appreciation that your back is tweaking you out. So yeah, that's one thing also to try in relation to being humble with yourself, being humble with your thoughts. Don't let your mind lie to you, basically, because it does often. And just trying to think of one more, I guess it'll help soften you a bit. It's very easy to be proud, almost proud of your pain, to the point of kind of being defensive about it in a couple of respects. Defensive about how bad it is, and defensive about how restrictive it makes you. Helping somebody move house or pick up boxes, or even asking for help. Often, if you suffer from chronic back pain, you might be of the mindset where you are putting a lot of pressure on things, especially a pressure on yourself to show up, to perform, to be there for others. But I recommend just trying to be there for yourself. So that means saying no to people, humbly aware of the fact that you just can't do it. Your back's hurting, maybe you're a bit down, and often you might want to push through. So keep an eye on that for yourself. Be aware that you don't have to be there for everybody. You have to be there for yourself. And learn to ground yourself in your own understanding of your body and your own limits, your own boundaries. Because too often it's easy to discount yourself again. But to be honest, that's why, if you are suffering from chronic back pain, that's why your back pain continues, because you're not humble enough with yourself to say, no, this is too much for me. And it goes the same way for saying yes to experiences. And, giving yourself permission to enjoy yourself, you have to say yes as well. So the final point on being humble is practice. Have it in mind. And be honest with yourself.